Hello, welcome to this video presentation of my Unreal Engine Fortnite editor level for my Fortnite. This is a puzzle based level that will focus around gameplay for 2 players. However, since I am testing this by myself for the presentation, I will be doing it solo using the creative edit mode just to show all the different elements for the sake of just presenting everything. As I won't be able to get a second player or a second screen without either uploading this level onto Fortnite or by actually just having a second player in general. Starting off, when the player goes to start the level, they are presented with a message just kind of telling them what the level is. So it's a 2-player co-op level, introducing them to saying welcome, separate puzzles, players need to work together to communicate to solve puzzles. Essentially, that's the core function. Now, as for the different puzzles, with the starter room, it's very basic, straightforward, trying to just keep it very limited with a very clear decision where one player goes in one portal, one player goes into another portal. For instance, we have portal 1 with it being labelled for number 1, and then portal 2 for player 2, having custom skins so players can customize their skins in game. So player 1 will likely take charge initially, so the player will go through the portal, and then doing so they enter this room. So as for the overall level, it is scaled quite large. I initially didn't take into consideration the scale properly, so each room could have been scaled probably half the size of what the original is in this video. However, I use coins in terms of affordance to help guide the player towards clues and ways the player can take into advantage these coins for XP to figure out certain puzzles. For instance, player 1 will begin in this big room with just different assets to essentially just distract the player of what they're supposed to be doing. The player will explore the rooms, trying to figure out what they actually need to do. Since it's a puzzler, I'm not guiding them as much as you would typically in other levels. So for instance, we have the coin here, so the player, once they figure out that the coins are a way of guiding them, will be like, right, so there's a coin here, which means there's a clue to where they can progress. So doing this, the player will look around this area until they realise there's something up with this painting, and they go through it in an invisible painting where they get the grapple gun. So now the player will be able to use this grapple gun in the level. So just imagining I have the grapple, the player will navigate and kind of see what they're doing. Now here is the second clue in this first puzzle. Essentially, just telling them there's something here. There's a switch that the player will activate by stepping on it. Now doing so will activate in the other area. So we have player 2, so now from player 2 perspective, player 2 would have been navigating this factory-like setting, trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. So the player would look up here, up the stairs, just explore the environment to see if they can figure out what's going on in terms of the puzzle. Now this is very similar to puzzle 1. So the player will have to navigate, see if they can find something. This room is empty, nothing to be seen here. And while exploring, this door is unlocked after activating the switch in the previous room. From player 1's perspective, player 2 will now have a jetpack that they will be able to use. And now from this point of view, from player 2, now it's players 2 turn to take charge, essentially, with what they're supposed to be doing. So now player 2 would use the jetpack to fly up here, essentially, and open up the path for player 1. So now this is done using another trigger device for door 2. Now door 2 is back in the previous room where player 1 would be. Now as for player 2 now cannot continue until the other triggers activated from player 1's side. So player 1 would then move over here. Now they can now continue with this doorway now that has been unlocked. However, because player 2 cannot progress, player 1 would have to use the grapple similarly to find the next trigger in this area, which is just round here. Now that player 1 and 2 have navigated through the level and they've got through the first puzzle of each section, now player 1 will have a very similar puzzle to player 1 where to the first puzzle where there's another invisible painting for another trigger. Now initially this concept was different and required switches for a code combination. However, I can't do that without going into verse or doing it in a way that doesn't work anymore in the editor. So player 2 will then navigate to here, which is a jumping puzzle. So now that trigger was activated, the player can continue if they so choose. However, they won't be able to continue because player 1 will be locked out of continuing with the progression. So now player 2 would then jump across these different elements until they make it to the other side. So once they make it through the jumping puzzle, which is doable, it's just because I'm not comfortable on PC. It will take me a lot longer to figure this out, especially with some of the lagging and frame rate issues with this video recording. So I'm not going to actually jump through this. However, then player 2 would continue on. They would navigate through these little jumping puzzles until they trigger this switch. Now, player 2 can kill themselves if they choose to respawn back at the start of the level, and they can make it back here, or they can just choose to try and make it back by jumping across. So now this doorway is open because of player 1, and vice versa. For player 1, that doorway is open. Now player 2 is another jumping puzzle. They have to climb up using these tires to reach the top. So it's nothing too complex, however due to the frame rate there's just a few issues with me actually making this. So for the sake of just showing the different elements in the level, I'm not going to be doing this. So now this is the final trigger, which will activate to open the pathway for player 1. And now player 2 is teleported up here to the final puzzle where player 1 will have to navigate a maze. The job of player 2 is essentially to guide player 1 through this section, so they'll be looking through here for potential pathways. Just one second. So player 2, like I said, will look through this glass floor and try guide player 1 on the correct path, on where they're supposed to be going to make it to the end. Now player 1's perspective of this would be right here. So player 1 would be here, player 2 above them, and now player 1 will have to navigate through this maze until they reach to the end, which has a locked door. Now player 1, however, will have to find a trigger for player 2 to actually exit and finish the level. So player 2 will guide them from the top until they see this coin, and tell them there's a coin here, which means there's a trigger. You need to go this way to open this up. Now continue on. Player 1 will then navigate through this maze, through the different elements, until they reach the very end, with the help of player 2, sorry. And now player 2 will just activate this final trigger right here, which opens up that doorway. So now player 2 goes here, and this is the end of the level. A very basic, just finish. And both player 1 and 2 will meet up right here. And that's essentially it. Now, many issues came up across throughout the development, like just losing progression due to some editor issues, and syncing up the file properly, which made me change my ideas and concepts. I wish if I had more time to do this, I would have thought out the scale more, took into consideration the different mechanics and puzzles and how they would have been integrated better. However, due to the time frame, I'm probably going to leave it as is and focus more on my custom level editor. There's definitely ways this level could have been better thought out. However, due to the time frame, I just will likely have to leave it for the time being. And potentially in the future, when I look back into making this level better, in my spare time, I'll actually go into verse. Due to my lack of knowledge with it, that's why I haven't done it, but I'll look into verse and maybe start including custom made mechanics. However, as of right now, this is it. Thank you for watching this video, and I will likely see you in the next one, where I will be going through my Far Cry 5 progression and making my Far Cry level. And I believe my next one is going to be going on around terrain and building a basic terrain for my level and getting that sorted. Thank you very much.